Good morning, everyone. So, like just we covered the various subsections of government budget, like revenue expenditure, revenue receipts, capital expenditure, capital receipts. In this chapter, we are going to focus on the three types of budget that are there in an economy, that are there for an economy to pursue, which are namely balanced budget, then you have a surplus budget, and then you also have a deficit budget. We'll also go on to explain the three kinds of deficits that are there that can occur in an economy. One of them is revenue deficit. The other one is fiscal deficit. D stands for deficit. And then we have primary deficit. We are going to elaborate on these. But before we need to explain what all three kinds of budgets exist in an economy. So to understand, like we had discussed in the introductory lecture, that in an economy, as we have compared it with a household, if receipts, the money that is being received by government, the funds, the tax collection, if they are greater than expenditure, then that means government has a lot of extra surplus with them. And so it is called surplus budget. Okay. This is a sign of financial affluence in a country. Right? And pursuing this kind of budget is very helpful during inflation. Okay. The next kind of budget that is there in an economy is when both receipts and expenditure are on equal terms. And we say that this looks like a balanced budget. The government is raising money through receipts in very exact equal amount than it is using on various heads in expenditure. Okay, this means that government is living within its means. Okay, but this kind of budget is not advised when during the phases of depression or deflation. As you all know, deflation means the general fall in prices. So in that case, it is not advised that government should take up a balanced budget. Now, but if government has the expenditure that it incurs much greater than what the receipts it obtains. Now, this is going to, whenever you have an excess of expenditure in your family also, we call it that we are going short or we are having a deficit in household. So similarly for government, this stands as a deficit budget. This is the most common form of budget that is practiced in an economy, in various economies rather. Okay. For a country like India, which is low on aggregate demand as compared to other developed nations, this kind of budget is very much recommended. So it is best suited for developing countries. Okay. What government does with this deficit is this deficit. Mind you, we are talking about the budgetary deficit. So when we say receipts, we are meaning total receipts and total expenditure. Okay, this deficit helps generate additional demand. Demand, by demand, we are meaning aggregate demand, not the demand for one commodity, the total demand in an economy. Okay, and when this additional demand is generated by government incurring more expenditure, this boosts economic growth. Okay, and this particular budget, the government covers the gap. What kind of gap? Just to show you, if we have a revenue amounting to this much and we have expenditure which is amounting to this much, this means that this portion is the gap. Okay, let me highlight it. This is the gap. So this gap, this particular gap, is meted out or is managed through public borrowing. Government borrows from people of its country, or it can also borrow from external entities, right? Or withdraw from its surplus. Okay, so if it has surplus capital with itself, then it may use it during this periods. Okay, and all of these, however, create a debt burden in an economy. Okay, and I think this is very much the component we will understand in when you will study about fiscal deficit. We'll get onto each of them in details, but budget, 3 types of budget we have been able to understand. One is deficit budget, the other one is balanced budget, and the third one which we have understood is a surplus budget. Okay,